Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a really low cost and pretty darn cool little brushless truck by Haiboxing, or HBX. So you can see here on the box, if I can grab it here without bumping my camera, that's the Haiboxing logo. It doesn't actually say HBX anywhere on the box, but as you can see the check mark here in the brushless version. It does mention here on it some of the upgrades you can buy for this, such as metal gears and metal dog bones, and it does mention the wheelie bar here, though this one does come with the wheelie bar, so that actually is included, and oil-filled shocks. This just has friction shocks. That's a nice little upgrade. You can buy these online. You don't have to buy HBX's brand to upgrade this to oil-filled shocks. So let's take a closer look at what we all get here with this truck. So let's take a look at the truck itself. I installed the wheelie bar. It's the little wheels here, and I would recommend doing that because it really, even though this is a four-wheel drive, you can see the front and the rear differentials there. I would recommend installing that because it really rides wheelies pretty easily and gets kind of squirrely. This will keep it from flipping over and scuffing up your body. So I'd recommend putting that on. It also comes with LEDs that you can install here into the front bumper, and that powers off of the Esc Receiver combo. And I'll show you that they give you instructions on how to do all that, and I'll show you that here in a moment. So let's take a look what's underneath the hood, underneath the body. And here is your brushless motor, and it is Esc Racing. It says it's a 3900 kV is what it says. It's powered by a 2S or 2-cell lithium ion pack, and here that is, and it is 1300 milliamp hour, 7.4 volt. Uses a Dean's plug, so you do not need to use the provided charger to charge it, because all your standard hobby grade chargers will have that connector, and of course it charges it way quicker. It took me like 23 minutes to charge this last night using my hobby grade. The charger that comes with it charges off the balance plug, as you guys can see, and it says like 4 or 5 hours. It's extremely slow. So if you don't have a hobby grade, even if you pick up an IMAX clone, you know, one of those off eBay, it's still going to get the job done way better than this, and much quicker. You can get those charges as cheap as $20 at times. And it comes with some extra body clips in there too, in case you lose any. Here are the ones off of the body, off mine, the 4 that I already, because obviously I had those removed already. Here is the rear bumper if you want to remove that and put the wheelie bar on. Otherwise you can just leave the rear bumper on. And it also comes with some zip ties here that are to organize the LED wiring, and you do get a Phillips screwdriver, so you have one that easily fits the little Phillips screws on the bottom of the car to remove the rear bumper. Now here is the Esc Receiver combo here, and you plug that little, I plugged in the wire for the LEDs, ran them up into the bumper here, as you guys can see. So from right here up there, and put a zip tie to keep out of the way of the shock springs and towers. Again, these are just friction shocks, though they are adjustable on the tension. And it's a little bit bouncy, but it's not bad. But it seems to be fairly well built. It can handle a bit of a beating, and it doesn't seem to like it's going to break real easy. I really like the build quality of it, even though it is all plastic, but it's, like I said, it seems to be pretty well built. Let's see, take a look here. Here's your little steering servo here. So it's fully proportional steering and throttle, which is also nice. And it has full ball bearings, the box says. So longer run time, faster top speed anytime you have full ball bearings on something like this. But you could upgrade to metal gears, metal dog bones. But first thing I would recommend is upgrade these shocks to oil filled, so that you get better dampening, and you'll get better steering, suspension, everything. With the upgraded suspension, you'll get better, not only how it handles jumps and landings, but it also, the car just in general will handle and perform better with better suspension. And here is the controller, standard pistol grip, just a plastic knob here, and it's not foam or rubber. It's got steering trim which you need on a fully proportional. Steering dual rates if you want to limit how much it can steer. And your throttle trim if you need to adjust the throttle if it's creeping forward or going too far. And your steering and throttle reversing, which you won't be using, but that's a pretty common feature if something gets hooked up backwards. And your power switch. And when you turn it on, now it's going to blink green here, but these both go solid red and solid green when you are bound to the car. But as you'll see in the driver view, the one fault of this car is it has very, very poor range. I don't think I got 20 meters range before it would drop out and I would go off into, I went off the road the first time because I lost my steering. And I was surprised by that. Now the batteries in here are not very new. I reuse my batteries in a lot of my reviews since I do so many reviews. I'm not going to constantly be buying new batteries, but these three, it takes 3 AA's. And when I got back from the review, I read the instruction manual again, and went over it more closely, I should say. It mentions that when you're bound, of course, these lights go both solid. And I just tested that a while ago, and they both went solid red and solid green. But it will blink like you're seeing now if the batteries are low after you're bound up. And then if it gets critically low, both the red and green will flash. And during my review, I have no flashing lights. In fact, because of the glare outside, I don't think I even realized that both lights were on outside. But I have no blinking light outdoors, so I did not have a low battery according to this. So I don't believe my battery power is an issue on this, which I thought could be contributing to the short range. It just doesn't have very good range. That's my only gripe. It is the poorest range I've seen on any car or truck like this. But it's hard for me to be too critical considering that this thing is dirt cheap. I have a coupon. And as long as that coupon is still active, which I believe it is, it was good just 2 days ago when I tested it last. This is like $63 at Banggood. $63 for a fully ready to run brushless truck. It's hard to complain. You figure they're going to skip somewhere, and they probably did skimp on the transmitter, though it could also just be the receiver here is weak. Here is the antenna that's sticking up right in here. Is the antenna on the little thing, but I mean it just doesn't have good range. But it's hard for me to be overly critical because of the price. If this is $100, I wouldn't recommend it because there's other options at that price range that have better range. But if you can get this truck for under $70, I would definitely recommend it because you just keep it close to you and it's great. It's very quick. I think it's just as quick as my Zinlahong 903 or my Remo Hobby S-Max, which are both also at this same 1/16th, I believe this truck was. I don't know if it actually says on here what size this truck is, but I'm pretty sure this truck was 160. Yeah, here it says at 1/16th. Sometimes a 1/16th and 1/18th can look so similar, but I was pretty sure this truck was the 1/16th size. It seems to be about the same speed as those. You certainly could go up to a 2S LiPo and get a little more acceleration or kick with the LiPo. I wouldn't go 3S because it appears to have plastic gears. You may shred those. They could get too hot and get warm and then they'll melt. I would stick with 2S. But if you go with the upgraded gears that they sell, then I think 3S you could probably handle 3S just fine. But overall, I mean, like I said, fully independent suspension, it is friction, it handles pretty good. It gets a little squirrely, and just because it's generally so small, it can top itself on top of thick grass. As you'll see in the driver view, it doesn't do well on the tall grass at all where I'm driving it because the grass is just too big. I would need a big 1/10 or 1/8 scale to be able to drive through that thick grass. So it really does get kind of difficult with that, and it can get a little squirrely in the rock and the loose gravel. It would do better with some spike or tires to kind of climb up the hill that I show you guys, where it's just getting that big grass caught on there, or it's just simply gets squirrely and then it gets topped on the grass again, and I can't get it up that hill I'm trying to go up. But for someone who's just getting into this hobby, somebody who's looking to buy a gift for Christmas, if you order this right now, you might still get it by Christmas. You'll definitely get it, probably within a week after at the latest, depending on where you're located. I highly recommend this if you can get it for under $70. It's a good little car. It just doesn't have good range. Here's the instruction manual here. And the instruction manual is pretty good. It's got your part lists and just your general information. I don't know if it has an exploded view for repairs. I don't think it does. It's got some assembly. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does in the very rear. So that's good. It does have, so you know what to do in repairs. Here is the instruction manual for installing the wheelie bar. And here is instruction manual for the lights. I believe it has this in the instruction manual too. Has the same page for installing the LEDs, the lighting kit, you know, and the wheelie bar. And it does have some decals, which I didn't put on yet. Be sure that if you do install these, you remove the protective sheen. There's a plastic film on this. Peel that off. Not only will it be glossier, but if you put this on top, the decals on top of that, and then it's gonna, you know, then it will just peel off with this, because this is gonna, as soon as you wreck this and scuff it, that film's gonna come off, and then all your decals are gonna come off. So make sure you take that off, then you can apply these. And I took this film off yesterday, but I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna put these on, but I wanted to wait till after my run. And of course, I've got a little dirty, as you can see. There's some mud on it and stuff from the test drive earlier, but I can wash it up with a little bit of water and dry it, and then put the decals on, and the truck is good to go. All right, guys, well, that wraps up the table review portion of the HBX 16889, which is the model number of this truck. Let's head on outdoors now, and you can see how it handles in that driver view. So be right back. All right, guys, so I have the Haiboxing, or HBX for short, little 1/16 scale, ready to run brushless truck, all connected here and ready to take out now for its test drive. Now, I don't remember the model number on this, but I'm sure I mentioned it earlier. If I remember, I'll put it up on the screen. But you know, it's one of those 4 or 5 digit model numbers that they put on these little trucks. But the one thing I do know is this truck is, as far as I know, the cheapest ready to run brushless truck or car that you can buy. The coupon I have drops us down to like 63 bucks, and that's just unbelievable for a ready to run brushless truck. You can't usually find a brush truck this nice at that cost. Regularly this is around $79.99. Even at that price, that's a super good deal in my opinion. Now, I've not run it yet, so you know, maybe something goes wrong, but just my initial impressions, that's a pretty darn good deal. Now, I've got the LED lights here installed. They give you that to install on this, and you run the wires through and you plug it into the Esc Receiver combo, and that powers it. And I put the wheelie bar on because the little driving I did in my basement, it really does, even though it's 4-wheel drive, it still kicks up and does a wheelie, but you can just leave the rear bumper on if you wish. Though, you know, this will help prevent it from flipping over as easily. So let's see what this little guy does. It's powered by a 2S lithium ion pack. You can certainly put a LiPo in there, and it uses a Dean's plug, so it's got nice components. Let's go ahead and take it out and see what it does. Now, it's got steering trim, steering dual rates, and then your throttle trim, and you got some servo reversing, which you wouldn't need for this. But let's go ahead and take it out here and probably do a little steering trim, but otherwise I think everything else seems pretty good. Now, it does have some throttle trim. We'll have to see, you know, if we have to tweak any of that. That's pretty good. Oh yeah, a little bouncy, but again, this is using friction shock, so you expect that. Looks like it's pulling a little bit. Let's see if we can do a steering trim. It's pulling to the left, so I'm gonna steering trim to the right there. Nice. Whoa! Down to the ditch we went there. Let's make sure that I didn't. I almost felt like I might have lost my bind or something. I'm gonna make sure that I got the steering all trimmed up here good. It looks nice and straight, but it was still pulling on me a little bit. You always got to get the trim, you know, where you like it on these little cars when you first drive them. Yeah, it's pulling to the right a little bit, so I'm gonna go back to the left a little more. It does almost oversteer at first, so you got to be careful there. And it does spin out pretty easy. Yeah, that's not bad now. That's good. Yeah, see, it's losing its the control distance doesn't look to be very good on this. Now I don't have any lights here indicating anything being low, but yeah, I mean the batteries I threw in here were just ones I reused in a bunch. So these batteries are not brand new. That's what happened. It looks like it doesn't have very good control range. See, that's about the distance I can get. That's unfortunate, because the truck itself seems pretty cool. I'm surprised. I've never had a truck with that poor control range. It looks to me like, ooh, I like how it rides a wheelie. I would definitely recommend, if you pick this truck up, put that wheelie bar on, because it's going to be constantly flipping over if you don't. I would think if this had low battery, we'd be getting these red or green lights or something would be lighting up. I didn't look at the instruction manual closely. It may or may not. Lots of times they don't even tell you that in there. That's why I ended up down the ditch there. I didn't have any control. So assuming that, assuming that this thing, that it's not my batteries, you got to keep this guy close to you. I've reviewed quite a few trucks and cars, and I've not had one with that shorter range on the control distance. Usually you can drive these things down, I don't know, you should be able to get 50 to 100 meters easily. 50 would be pretty short. 100's pretty common, I think. But this guy, well, I really like how it drives too. This is fun. This really drives well, and it seems really well built. For the price, I can't be too overly critical on it, even though the range is not. I'm just a little bit perturbed with the range. See, right now I feel like it's cutting out on me right there. That's not very far. See, it's kind of stuttering. I'm losing. I don't know, what is that? Probably. I'm thinking, what is that? Maybe 20 yards, 15 yards. It's not very far. I'm thinking yards, guys. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe similar 20 meters or something. Not even that, probably. Yeah, it's losing its reception right in there. As you guys can probably tell, that is not very far. Again, it is possible that my batteries are not very good, but I've never had that issue on anything before. I reuse these batteries quite a bit. I just don't know how good they are, is what I'm getting at. I could have some low, even one low cell in here causing that, but got a lot of grass stuck in here, guys. I'm gonna pull that out. Otherwise, the truck handles really well. I mean, it spins out pretty easy, but it has so much power. Nice. And it doesn't seem to have any problem going through off-road here, as long as it's not very tall. See, it's getting caught up on top of that grass, but a truck like this, it doesn't matter how much power it has, it's going to get topped on on something rather easily. But yeah, you can see it goes through this shorter grass here. If you get some momentum, let's kick it. Oops, I knocked it over. Try to get it going here again. Yeah, this grass is just too tall. This would be nice, and this thing would do well in snow, I have no doubt, as long as it's not very much snow. This thing would be great in like an inch or two of powdery snow. It is rated at I forget which rating it was, but it does have some water resistance, so it had no problem in snow. Oh, nice. It's pretty quick. I think speed-wise, it looks to be as quick as the Zenlahong 2903 or the Remo Hobby S Max. In fact, it could just be a smidgen faster, but that's just going by memory. I really like the giddy up this truck has. I would say overall fun factor, I think I might like this truck the way it accelerates and drives more so than those other two I just mentioned, the Zenlahong 2903 or the S Max. But those actually, obviously have better range. I don't know why this controller's range is so poor. Again, unless it's my batteries. It'd be nice if I had some dirt so I could do some test driving in the dirt. Oh, rolled it over. There's a lot of walking trails back here. I could drive these down in here, but I'm certain it would go down this hill here. Let's see if I can get it to come back up. I just feel like this grass is going to be too thick. I'm going to see if we can drive it back up this. This thing would do really good with some spiked tires. Get some better traction. It's got such acceleration in it, there we go. There we go. Alright, so we made it out of there. Again, it just doesn't do well on any kind of tall grass. It gets stuck too easily. But a truck like this is not really meant to do any kind of extreme off-roading just due to its small size. The wheelbase tires, they just can't get through the thick grass. It's more of an on-road rock or loose dirt. And I don't really have too much of that. Let's walk up here. Got some of that big grass on my shoe here. Let's walk up here and see if I can drive it a little bit on this dirt here in the field, and then we'll end the review, guys. But yeah, I mean, my initial impressions, I can't really say too much at the price point. You can get this for $63. This would make for a great Christmas present if you have a time. If you ordered it now, I would think you'd probably get it around Christmas. A first RC, to go brushless at this price is crazy. Just don't expect really much range on this controller. You figure at this price they got to skimp somewhere, and it appears they skimped on the controller or the receiver. Could be just the receiver could be rather weak. There's a pretty big puddle of water. I'm not going to drive it through that. That'd be too deep, but a little water should be no problem. That would submerge this and very easily fry your ESC. Yeah, see, this is doing really well. And where this is flat here, the tractors have come in this field and smashed this down. Look, this is actually a really good spot. I wish I would have come here sooner. Yeah, whoa. Yeah, that does well. As I said with the other trucks of this size, you certainly could upgrade this to oil-filled shocks, and that's going to make a big difference on the suspension. Now, the suspension is bouncy, but it's not as bad as I think the Zenlahong is bouncier. As you drive the Zenlahong, you can just see it ba 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 down, and it runs. It's more expensive. It runs up. The Zenlahong runs up in the $90 to $100 range, and I don't think it's any faster. And it also has front LEDs. The S Max doesn't have any, but those vehicles I had no range issues. This one I'm certainly getting some range issues. I know I keep harping on it, but I don't want to sound like I'm trying to praise this truck too much because of the range issues. But if you're okay with very limited range, especially if you were like gonna buy this for somebody for Christmas and you know that they're just getting into the hobby, as long as they keep it close, this truck is a blast. So yeah, I think if you can get this truck for under 70, because I've seen it also, you know, around $68 or so, but if you can get this down around like the $63 coupon I have, I say I definitely would recommend this truck. I think you can't really complain at that price point. Just don't expect much range. All right, guys, that wraps up the review of the HBX truck. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out the video description for a purchase link if you're interested, along with that coupon. And be sure to subscribe to the channel. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.
The power of the dark side.